This week on Arizona Illustrated, a harrowing battle that changed U.S. history, a profile of TSO's new conductor, the art life of Karima Walker, and our favorite place, El Tiradito. Welcome to Arizona Illustrated. I'm Tom McNamara. It was deadly, it was brutal, and with temperatures colder than 25 degrees below zero, it was frozen. The Battle of the Chosin Reservoir in the winter of 1950 during the Korean War was one of the coldest battles in U.S. history. Outnumbered nearly 10-1, United Nations forces, made up mostly of American troops, were the first to fight against Chinese soldiers as they poured across the border and entered the Korean War. Eddie Rios, a Tucson native, was there and fought alongside thousands of other Marines who are now known as the Chosen Few.
I was born in Tucson, Arizona, and we all lived in one room apartment. There was 7 of us, and we all lived bunched up. Everybody came downtown and enjoyed seeing each other and buying in Steinfield's, Hakomis, White House, Penny's. We used to go to the Rialto or the state. One guy would go in and he would open the back doors, and all of us would go in the back, and we would have a big old crowd there. All the guys were joining the Marine Corps because we were getting T-shirts, shoes, pants, and all the stuff, you know. Nobody and any of the guys that I know, or even myself, never thought there was going to be another outbreak like the Korean War. We weren't ready. They put us on a train and kept us going on up north, further up. We were going to go up to the Hung and then keep going up north to the reservoir. We were going up to the Chinese border. It was getting snowed and it was getting pretty cold. The clothes we had and the rubber boots were not that great. We were all getting very cold, and our weapons, we had the oil was getting frozen up because it wasn't the right oil to be in a frozen thing. We didn't have the right oil. I slept with, as most of the guys slept with all my gear. I slept with my all my stuff in my bag, and it was still frozen. My water was frozen. All my rations were frozen. We fought all the way back to Hung, and we walked and carried our wounded and our dead back. We went up with 200 and some guys, and we came down with 110 or 100 and some guys. We came back. They would come in with bugles or their whistles, and they would come in hundreds. You know, they just would come in a big bunch, and we had to keep at it. You know, sometimes when we didn't have any more rations to go, we would take their rice, and for survival, we would eat the rice. We were running out of supplies, and C-47s were coming to drop supplies for us, but sometimes when they did drop supplies, the wind would move the supplies and the parachutes to the other side where the enemy was, and they would pick them up, and we would have to wait till they would have to come back again and drop us more supplies. It took us 3 to 4 hours to bring one wounded guy or one guy that died back down to where the ambulance was waiting for to take him back. Stuff from home, tamales and tortillas and all that stuff. By the time we got them, they were all molded, but we were happy to eat them anyway. We used to split them. We used to split the tamales and the tortillas and chili. We were just happy to get them, you know. Some of the tortillas and tamales were molded, but we still ate them, man. They were great. That's penicillin. they can call it whatever they want. I think it was a war, and that's it. A lot of guys were dying and getting wounded, and they can call it the forgotten war or the conflict, but it was a war, and that's it. We all had about 6 to 8 guys from Tucson and every infantry company there. Tucson was very well represented in Korea, and they all did great work. Even with a lot of the guys that didn't have any boot camp training, they did the very great. They were survivors. They did their job. They were disciplined. They were called to do whatever they did, and we all did it. We all did it. Nobody said no. We were in the ship. Nobody said no. I don't want to do this. We all went. We all made the landing. We all kept going all the way down to the reservoir. Nobody said no. Mostly Hispanic guys from the Easy Company here. You know, you're together from Tucson. We talked here, we talked over there, and it gave us a feeling that, hey, we're all together. Whatever happens, we're going to be here together, all of us. Hey, we weren't alone. We were together as brothers, and we still are.
Revisit the harrowing Korean War battle that changed U.S. history, told by the men who were there on American Experience, The Battle of Chosin, Tuesday, November 1st at 9 p.m. on PBS 6. A conductor's job is not only to direct an orchestra, but also to inspire both musicians and audiences alike. For more than 2 decades, George Hansen stood on the podium in front of the Tucson Symphony Orchestra. Now, the baton has been passed.
It's a beautiful Thursday night. Musicians in the Tucson Symphony Orchestra are arriving at the TCC Music Hall for the final dress rehearsal before their season opener. In most ways, it's a practice like any other. A quick look through sheet music, chaos that gets louder as more musicians take their seats. And eventually, they come into tune together. It's all totally normal, except for one very big thing. For the first time in more than 2 decades, the Tucson Symphony Orchestra has a new maestro.
My name is José Luis Gómez, and I come from Spain. Me llamo José Luis Gómez, vengo de España.
Gómez takes the reins from George Hansen, who was the longest-serving conductor in the symphony's 87-year history. Long before Gómez stood on this podium, though, he was a kid raised in a family that immersed him in music.
I was born in Maracaibo, Venezuela, and my father is a flutist. My brother is a violinist as well, and music has been always part of our family. So my father was the first flute of the Maracaibo Symphony Orchestra and one of the teachers of El Sistema, which is a youth orchestra system of teaching in Venezuela, very well known. And so music was part of our family from day one.
When he was a kid, Gómez studied the violin.
It's one of those instruments that captivates the audiences more than others because it's very passionate, but also it can be very delicate. It's a very unique instrument, and I think growing up playing it has been, a wonderful experience.
He says his training as a musician laid the foundation for his transition to conducting and his leap onto the international stage.
Out of a sudden, I just found myself in a very short time winning an international conducting competition, and therefore my career just started out of, like a dream.
The winner is Mr. Jose Luis Gomez Rios.
And I was really lucky because I immediately got an invitation from the orchestra who was part of the competition, which was the Frankfurt Radio Orchestra, to join them by express desire of his music director, the conductor Pavo Järvi, as his assistant. So I immediately started to work with him, which is a top-level world-class conductor. I had the chance to work with an orchestra from day one in big repertoire like Mahler, Bruckner, you know. So it was a kind of a very intense beginning, but I also felt like I was really well guided by the people who are around me.
After Frankfurt, Gomez spent several years playing with orchestras around the world, across Europe, New Zealand, Japan, and he was musical director at the Teatro Sociale di Como in Italy. Gomez made his debut in Tucson in 2014. Lauren Roth, the orchestra's principal violinist, was there.
I definitely remember working with him for the first time and feeling like, oh, we've got a real musician's musician on our hands here. Someone who understood the music and who was able to communicate it with a lot of inspiration and passion to all of us.
I believe that there is something really unique that happens with music, is that it's an international language. And somehow, when you see a conductor and an orchestra combining forces together, it's a result of inspiration, of understanding each other, but at a level that goes beyond the words.
There have been many times where we have connected musically, we being the instrumentalists and Maestro Gomez. To describe those moments, it's sort of hard to do, except to tell you that they're just there and we all feel them. I think there is a little bit of an electricity among the players, and that's something that we all feel. We might talk about it later, but it's almost not worth putting into words because it's simply a really strong feeling that nobody can deny.
A few months ago, the orchestra's patrons had a chance to meet Gomez and talk with him directly. One thing was clear: there are a lot of different expectations for the orchestra.
We're from Los Angeles. We spent 35 years going to LA Philharmonic, and they always had one piece every performance that was different. We saw
Night of the Mayans.
Night of the Mayans as that piece in LA, and it just blew us away. So showing new stuff as part of your concert is wonderful. Some is good, some is not so good.
I want the TSO to be accessible to everybody in the community. You don't have to know a lot about classical music or be a great lover of classical music in order to appreciate the great talent and the professional quality of our orchestra right here in Tucson.
Gomez says the Tucson Symphony Orchestra is poised to ascend to the next level. Of course, that's going to require a lot of hard work on the part of Gomez and his musicians.
I saw in the orchestra a capacity of development and to still grow as an institution. Believe it or not, this is something that is really attractive for a conductor, because it gives you the room also to learn and to grow with them. But I think we found each other in the right time.
We have incredible leadership in Maestro Gomez moving forward. I think he will provide inspiration and motivation for the players to play better. I think we'll play at a higher level. I hope that with Maestro Gomez's leadership, we'll be able to reach better and further into the community here in Tucson.
During off seasons, Gomez will continue to play with orchestras around the world.
But I'm happy to say that, of course, I will have a home here in Tucson. It will be my American, let's say, home. I will still have my place in Europe because I'm expanding my career all over the world. But one of the good things is that I'm not traveling alone anymore, because I know that I have the Tucson Symphony with me everywhere I go.
Here's a peek at stories we're working on. Tucson Botanical Gardens hosts the blockbuster exhibit Frida Kahlo, Art, Garden, Life.
It's only one of two in the whole country, so this is a real coup for the gardens.
Pearl Harbor is remembered through the words of a survivor.
Just before church started, all hands on deck, man your battle stations. This is not a drill.
And upcoming favorite places include the Old Stone House and the Arizona Inn.
It is a destination, an experience, an emotion, and an attitude.
Coming soon on Arizona Illustrated. When you go out to dinner, it's not uncommon to have a live musician performing while you dine. Have you ever wondered how they may have gotten there or why? In our next story, we introduce you to Karima Walker as part of our occasional series, Art Life, offering glimpses into life as an artist here in southern Arizona.
Where I decided that I wanted to tour, but I can't also have an apartment while I'm touring. So I'm like sort of homeless right now. My name is Karima Walker. I'm a musician. I didn't go to school for music. I don't have any kind of formal training around it. I had been living in a religious commune for like 4 years. Really learned a lot from that experience, but I didn't know what kind of work I wanted to do. It's been like a gradual process of like letting myself do it. Even though it's like really challenging trying to make all these pieces come together, it's really satisfying. I work here part-time and I substitute teach, and then I play gigs that are going to pay me more but maybe aren't like the heart of what my project is, and that's okay. I'm not enough. What you need, fill yourself with something else. It still feels really good to play those sets, even if it's not the type of material that I'm like actively exploring right now. People eating dinner is sort of like the show, and I'm kind of like just sort of providing the ambiance. Happy birthday. Who are you now, sweetest bloom? Really love folk music. That was sort of the seed for like my own writing in the beginning. As much as I really enjoy the songwriter material, I knew that I wanted to change something. There were just things that were not being expressed that I would experience like in the process of writing a song or just in my day-to-day life. I could express it lyrically. It wasn't quite enough. I think I wanted to like do sort of an overhaul. Costlier and deepest stars, still waiting there, still waiting there. I wanted so badly to be good. and to like live a good life. I was like mostly raised Catholic, and then I was part of an Anabaptist community. Those are real concrete practices that I think can be really rich. And so to decide like, oh, I'm not going to be a part of a community like that anymore. Well, you know, do I just like start doing yoga? Different parts of the creative process were a lot like different like spiritual experiences that I've had. Making music has taken the place of what religion was. I want there to be like a huge breadth, and that does represent a lot of like my experience of being alive. I was really interested in like, well, how can I like take over this whole room but still also like be quiet? So I stopped worrying about having like a linearity to things, and I allowed my songs to become more filled with imagery. To know that like you're pursuing what you want to do and you're willing to make sacrifices for it, and there is a return on that. There's confidence that comes from that, and there's a community that starts to form where you start to notice like, oh, there are other people who are like all in also, and that's a very exciting thing.
Like what you see on Arizona Illustrated? Visit our webpage at azpm.org to watch and share videos from this episode. You'll also find stories from future programs, an easy way to submit your own story idea, an archive of past episodes of Arizona Illustrated, and you'll find everything you need to stay connected with public broadcasting in Southern Arizona. azpm.org. And now it's time for Favorite Places, our limited series featuring a local architect's thoughts about their favorite building, place, or space in Southern Arizona. For Darcy Hazelbaker, it's a small patch of land in Barrio Viejo, just south of downtown Tucson, El Tiradito.
Por naturaleza, somos enemigos de Dios. Toda cabeza está enferma y todo corazón doliente.
Predestined lovers and lost souls. Wishes and whispers of the past. Forbidden love and heartache. Lilies and forget-me-nots mingle with candles, sometimes still burning, and glowing images of Saint Rita of Cassia and San Judas Tadeo. Tiny metal crosses are scattered in the desert dust, amidst frame photos and Matchbox hot rods painted orange. Nestled in Barrio Viejo along Main Avenue sits El Tiradito, a shrine for a sinner in a long ago sordid love triangle. I came upon the altar early one summer morning when I first moved to Tucson. At the time, my husband worked in the barrio, and I spent my days walking the dusty streets of Tucson's oldest neighborhood. The Sonoran row houses of the barrio define the urban boundary by pushing right up to the narrow sidewalk. Yet this inviting adobe altar sits far back on its lot. Like a sanctuary, the partially eroded adobe walls define a small room, a haven tucked away from the bustle of the street. I remember the strong white morning light on my back as I stood admiring the shrine that first morning, and my surprise to realize that in the nooks and crannies of the old adobe were meticulously folded and rolled bits of paper. The voids of the wall hold blessings and hope. I go back to reflect on my wishes and dreams. I marvel at the sense of community this shrine embodies. So many prayers, painstakingly written and folded, and left here. I fight the voyeuristic urge to read messages that have fallen from the walls. I enjoy the ritual of the place, the act of manifesting a thought into physical form and placing it within this tactile wall with whatever faith one holds. Will a flawed sinner who died here more than 100 years ago help one realize that dream or answer that prayer? Tucson is a spiritual place, and El Tiradito one of its most magical spaces.
Share a picture of your favorite place on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook with hashtag AZPM Favorite Places, or email us at favoriteplaces@azpm.org. We may use your location in a future segment. Thank you for joining us here on Arizona Illustrated. Next week, a look back at those who might have actually had their finger on the launch button. A U of A program helping vets towards a productive post-military life. We visit a place where homeless vets are welcomed and protected. I'm Tom McNamara. See you next week.